that food is this tumas? Is this a real nevela or is this tuma of food? Is this considered a shomer? This may be considered a shomer for the kulya, so it's considered
like a yad or something.
It's like a yad or a shomer for the kulya, so it has a more strict tuma. And nevertheless, we mentioned here that it needs to get wet. Why should it need to get wet? It has a more strict tumah. So anything with the stricter tumah doesn't need to get wet. So it answers k'shishimish might say shimish. The same answer that we gave before. When it's considered a shomer for the kulya, that's just like considered a piece of wood, like the bone that's attached to the meat. It's not considered food. Amar Rav Masna. Rav Masna says, Hari Yamru, they've stated, Bais Bizroim Tiru. Let's say you used for schach, it's not really schach here, we're just talking about that you made a roof, it's not for sukkah, but you made a roof out of things that are growing, some sort of grains or something that are growing and it's covering the roof.
Are they touching the ground or not?
I believe so.
Or like growing vines, like
could be like a vine. So the tiru is interesting. What it means to say is that it becomes tameh from tumas tzaras if there's tzaras in the house. This growing grains or foods can become tameh because of tzaras. Now you can imagine because it becomes part of the house.
But if it's connected to the ground.
Yeah, because it comes bottled to the house, and it becomes part of the house.
And it's still connected to the ground.
Yeah. So who is this? Rav Masna says.
Isn't there a rule that anything that's in the ground can become tameh?
Yeah, except for the house, which is connected to the ground, which is tzaras.
But it's like stones.
But it could be.
If there's a tree in the house, the whole tree becomes tameh.
I don't know about the tree in the house, but if it's considered the house, it's part of the house. If they made a house in a cave and the cave got tzaras, you would have to.
The whole mountain and the trees on top of it.
You'd have to break down the house. I think. Here we're saying he's asking that if food could reach a more severe tumah, so why does food ever need to get wet? It could become tzaras abayis.
Interesting.
So he answers. He answers k'shishimish might say it's shimish. Over there it wasn't really considered food. It's not tumah of food. Okay. The last case of the Mishnah said we had several cases in the Mishnah. The first case was the limb and the flesh are still hanging off. We say that it's not nevela yet. It's just tumas eichlin, and it needs to get wet. The limb of a living animal, it needs to get wet. We don't say what Reb Shimon's opinion is about that. We just say Tanakama. We say if you shecht it, so then Reb Meir holds that it's considered wet already. Reb Shimon says no. If it dies, we say that the flesh needs to get wet, but the meat is already tameh from Ever Menachai. I'm sorry, the bone is already tameh, the limb is tameh as Ever Menachai. The flesh needs to get wet. And then that's what Reb Meir says, and Reb Shimon says it's tar. The Gemara now is asking, what does it mean Reb Shimon says it's tar if the animal dies with a dangling limb on it? What does it mean it's tar? Reb Shimon metar. The Gemara asks, manavshach. Which way do you want to take this? Imisa isenipol. Misa isenipol means when the animal dies, now I see a carcass with a dangling limb. Do I consider the limb attached to the carcass and it's one big dead carcass? Or do I say that the fact that it died now tells me that this dangling limb was already removed before? The death of it, you see, before while it was walking around, I didn't consider it dead. But now that it dies, do I consider the dangling limb as removed prior to the death? So if I say that it's considered removed prior to the death, it's a removed limb. Right now, everything is dead. We're asking, how does Reb Shimon say that it's tar? It's either Aver Menachai or it's Aver Menames. If I say that the death makes it considered like it's severed and it's not part of this animal, so it was removed before, it's Aver Menachai.
Nipple means severed.
I'm sorry?
Nipple is like
Nipple means severed. If the Misa doesn't consider it severed, so it's Nevela. You can't get out of this. The Gemara answers, very interesting. Reb Shimon Areshakai. Reb Shimon at the end of the Mishnah is going back on the first part of the Mishnah where we didn't mention Reb Shimon's opinion. What does it say? That if you have a dangling limb on an animal, it's only tamei as to masaychlin as food. It's not really nevela. However, and it needs to get wet. Reb Shimon Matar, Reb Shimon says it's not considered tamei. Amar Rabba. Okay, so that means that Reb Shimon Matar at the end of the Mishnah is not talking about after it dies. He's talking about while it's walking around. And Reb Shimon's going back on the beginning of the Mishnah. I don't know if the Gemara is going to conclude like that, but we sort of start a new piece over here. Reb Shimon considered it attached, so it's tar. Okay, Amar Rabasi, Amar Rabbi Yechanan. My time with the Reb Shimon. Rabasi says in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, we see who Rabasi is. Rabasi is a student of Rabbi Yechanan. What's the reason for Reb Shimon? Amar Kra mikala eichel asher yachal. From all food that you eat. Eichel shat yachal achil acherim kari eichel. Any food that you can feed is considered food. But eichel shiyat yachal achil acherim. If you can't feed it, why? Because it's prohibited. Why is it prohibited? Because it's Aver Menachai, then in kari eichel, so it's not considered tamei. And it's not food. So why does Reb Shimon say that it's tahar? A dangling limb? Because he can't feed it. It's not food.
What do you mean you can't feed it?
You're not allowed to give it to a non-Jew.
Oh,
Because you can't feed it to a non-Jew. You're not allowed to eat it because it wasn't shechted and all of that. It's Aver Menachai as well. And a non-Jew you also can't give it to. So it's not considered food. So he doesn't consider it. It doesn't get any sort of tumah. Amli Reb Zeir le Rabasi. How do you know that? Reb Zeir tells Rabasi. Oh, it's Mamish Reb Zeir and Rabasi again. Reb Zeir tells Rabasi, Dilma time de Reb Shimon Hassam, Hayla Mu'ura Mu'ura. Maybe it's not because it's not considered food. Maybe Reb Shimon holds that it's just attached to the animal, and living animals don't have tumah. How do you know it's the prohibition of feeding it that makes it not considered food? Maybe it's just not considered severed, according to Reb Shimon. And the Tanya, we even have a brisa that says this. That says Yichar Shalteina Shenifshach Amura Beklipa. Remember, we spoke about the fig branch that peels off the bark as it's coming down. If it's still attached to the bark when there's a fig branch that's cut, but the bark is still attached. It wasn't when it broke off. It's still hanging from a piece of bark. So Rabbi Yehuda Mitar v'Chacham Memrim Yachlecha Stavrim Lav Tamei. Rabbi Yehuda says that it's tar. No, it's still attached to the tree. The Chacham say it depends if you'll be able to reattach it. Then it's considered tar. Talking about that the figs are on this. My time with the Rabbi Yehuda. We asked, what's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda? Mu'ura means it's attached. Rabbi Yehuda says it's attached. So maybe the reason for Reb Shimon is not because if it's prohibited, it's not considered food. Maybe Reb Shimon holds that it's just considered attached, even though it's dangling, but the fact is it's still attached.
When we talk about food, it means food for human beings, Jew or non-Jew, not a kelef.
Right.
Because a kelef would eat it.
Right. We mentioned that before. That it needs to be Chumasaychan, right?
If it's Roy Lech's kelef, it still is available.
That's
the dogs out.
We mentioned that there was a difference between tumah, that if it was food for animals or for people.
Yeah,
I think we said it needs to be for people, right?
Okay, I missed that.
Amalei, so
Good job.
he tells him back, this is Rabasi, says Emtzeisa. This statement is really Amitziyasa. The statement of Rabasi and Rabbi Yechanan, what is the opinion of Reb Shimon, is not the beginning of the Mishnah that says that the limb is dangling. And Reb Shimon holds that because you can't feed it to a non-Jew, so it's not considered food. Because that I have another explanation. For that I can say it's attached. The reason for Reb Shimon is what's this? that you can't feed it, that's going on the second case of the Mishnah where the animal gets shechted. Over there it says, Nishchata behema, if the animal is shechted, then the dangling limb, huchshra b'damah, is considered huchshra l'kabel tumah, susceptible to tumah because it gets wet. Why? Because the shechita is considered like making it wet. Divrei Meir, Reb Shimon Aimer, loy huchshra. Shimon says it's not huchshra. And on this, Amar Rabasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, my time of the Reb Shimon. Here is where Rabasi says in the that in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the reason for Reb Shimon is Amar Kra Mikol Eichel Asher Yachal Eichel Shata Yachal Achil Lachem Kar Yachal Eichel Sheinat Yachal Achil Lachem Ein Kar Yachal. That has to do with the halachic status of food. Since you're not allowed to feed it because this is considered severed before the animal died, so it's considered a livmoth, a living animal, which is forbidden to feed to a non-Jew. So that's why this Reb Shimon holds that it's tar, because it's not food, you're not allowed to feed it. The Gemara asks, 1 second. If you remember before, we had a whole long Gemara, 6 reasons explaining why.
7 reasons. According to Rabbi Akiva or somebody.
Oh yeah. Why it's not considered that it got wet. Because we could say that the limb, that the bit larger animal that does get wet is not considered a yad to the smaller part of the animal that's dangling. Or we could say that if you would pull because if you would pull the small part, it would get removed. So it's not considered attached. So because the shechita makes the animal wet, it doesn't mean that it made that severed limb wet. So we had all of these explanations over there. How do you know the reason for Reb Shimon is because it's not food, because it's forbidden to serve to a non-Jew? Maybe it's not considered wet because the shechita doesn't make that part dangling limb wet just because it made the larger animal wet. We had all these explanations for that. Allah ilma seifa. Now we're going to the seifa. The seifa says, "V'lava eiver ela basar." We're not talking about the limb, we're talking about the flesh. It says, Mesa habehema, this is the last case of the Mishnah. If the animal died, habasar tzarech hechsher, the flesh needs to get wet, because it's tumas eichlin, but the limb is already tumas nevela. That's what Divrei Rabbi comes along, Reb Shimon, and says Reb Shimon mitar regarding the flesh.
Regarding which tumah?
Tumas eichlin. Why? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, my time with the Reb Shimon, Amar Kra Mikol Eichel Asher Yachal Eichel Shata Yachal Achil Lachem Kar Yachal. Only if you can allow to feed it is it Eichel. Eichel Sheyat Yachal Achil Lachem.
What's more, more nevela or
nevela for sure. Nevela for sure.
So why do we care so much about tumas eichlin?
Because here, tumas nevela is only if it's a full limb. That's what we learned over here. That's Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yosi Eily, and what's the reason why the flesh isn't counted? So the flesh is severed from the limb.
It wasn't a
so I can't
limb,
get the tumas nevela out of this, but maybe I could get tumas eichlin. Reb Shimon says you can't get tumas eichlin because it's basar
So if
menachai.
you take a nevela and you cut less than a full limb out of it, it's not a nevela anymore.
No, if it's an actual nevela,
Yeah.
then basar of nevela is metame bekazayas. But here it's Aver Menachai, which has tumas nevela. By an Aver Menachai, it needs to be an Aver. It can't be just the basar. Basar apirish Menachai is not metame as a nevela. Aver Menachai is metame. So in this,
But here it says Mesa behema basar tzarech.
yeah. Why? Because we're considering that the limb that was dangling is Aver Menachai, and we're not considering it nevela. We consider that it was removed while it was alive. So it's in a way that's a leniency. But nevertheless, Reb Shimon holds that it's not tumas eichlin because you can't serve it.
Press the center button.
I don't know.